Are we live?
I think we are live.
All right.
We've got about 1 more minute, so we'll wait 1 minute for folks to join. How are you doing, Pavan?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. Back home in Puerto Rico?
Yes. I love it here in Puerto Rico. Love being home.
Right. Well, I've got the top of the hour. Should we go ahead and get started?
Let's get started. And our special guest, Eloy, he just texted me. He is having some technical difficulties, but he is trying to get in to the meeting right now. He should be in any second. So while we're waiting for Eloy, I know you are in Utah today.
I am in Utah, Salt Lake City.
Did you get any skiing in? How's the snow?
I haven't gotten to the mountain yet. My schedule has been packed with the Originator Connect Mortgage Expo here. So I got a chance to meet a lot of brokers today, originators. Actually, there was a couple of realtors here. I said, you better keep that on the DL or you're going to get swarmed by all these originators. So more on that later. Thanks everyone for joining. We've got Eloy here joining us, one of the top realtors in the biz. So welcome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So if folks on the call have not gotten a chance to meet you yet, can you give us a brief introduction?
So my name is Eloy Villamil. I'm a broker owner here in LA in the city of Whittier, and I've been in business for 17 years. We're one of the top offices within the area. You know, we're part of the Downey board, the Downey Association, with 500 offices. Last year we ranked number 5.
Amazing.
Wow. And how many agents in your office, Eloy?
Right now, with everything that happened with you know, the market going a little down and everything, there's a lot of agents that leave the business. So we're close to 60 agents.
That's a good size office. Now, are you wearing a Bad Bunny shirt by chance?
What was that?
Is that a Bad Bunny t-shirt?
It is, yeah. No, it's not a Bad Bunny. It's called Psycho Bunny.
That's great. So I know, Eloy, you've had an amazing story.
Yes.
And I know you immigrated. This is a classic American success story. So you immigrated when you were 15, right? Yeah,
I actually came to the U.S. when I was 15 years old. Yes, I was about to turn 16.
Okay, were you by yourself or with your family?
No, I was actually my dad actually left my mom. They got separated when I was 4, and he decided to come to the U.S. And so, you know, I would see my dad on and off here and there, like maybe every 2-3 years. He would come and he'll go to Mexico and say hi to us and spend some time with us. But when I turned 15, I decided that I wanted to come and live with my dad. You know, I had already spent a lot of time with my mom, and I didn't know where I was going to go because we were a poor family, and she didn't really have enough money to pay for my education. My sister at the time, who was a little older than me, she was already going to the university, and so all the money that my mom was making, she was investing it into my sister. So she wasn't going to have enough money for me to have an education. Plus, I wasn't, you know, the best student at the time. So my only chance that I had to be successful was to come and join my father.
Eloy, I was a terrible student also. I was like a C, D student in high school. I don't know how I made it through.
Yeah, I was actually I was a good student. I was very good, but I was a rebel during the time that I was at school. So that would always affect my grades. Yeah.
How about you, Angel? Were you a good student?
What do you think? I was a pretty good student.
Like a good,
I wasn't valedictorian, but I tried my best.
So when you walk into class, did they say Angel alert?
No, Angel Alert came later. Much later.
I think we lost Eloy for a minute. You,
There you are.
there you are.
I don't know what happened. I was gone for a second.
Yeah. So you took the shot. You moved to LA, I guess, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I didn't know how things was going to work out. My dad used to live in Artesia. So if you guys know LA, Artesia is a very small city, and it's close to Cerritos.
Yeah, I grew up in Cerritos, so I know Artesia well.
Yeah. So that's where my dad used to live. I didn't know where I was coming or what I was going to be facing. I was undocumented at the time, so my only way to make it to the U.S. was doing it illegally, like crossing the border with a coyote. And so that's I pretty much did what I had to do. I tried 2 times and I failed, and I kept trying. I remember the last time on the last try that I had, I remember having a conversation with my dad, and my dad was in tears because I was 15. I wasn't that old or anything like that, and he was telling me, like the first 2 times we tried crossing through the line, the border line, and so the 3rd time I was gonna go through Tecate, so I needed to go through the desert to be able to cross the border, and so it was going to be a little bit more complicated. So I remember my dad was in tears, and he was telling me, hey, go back. He goes, just go back, don't try, let's figure it out, things a different way. Maybe we'll find a way that you can come into the U.S. Legally, and you don't have to go through this process. And so I remember telling my dad and looking at my dad and seeing him in tears. I said, look, I promise you that if I don't cross the border this time, if I don't make it to the U.S., I promise you that I'm going to go back. And so I made that promise to him. But at the same time, I had promised myself that I was going to make it happen one way or another. And so what's funny to add to that story is that when we were crossing the border, the coyote that was guiding us, it was a first-time coyote. It was actually his first time. And so after walking for maybe almost 5 hours, he stopped everybody, and it was me and a group of another 5 kids. We were 7 kids total, and all of them were underage. It was like the group with all the minors. And so he stopped everybody and he says, look, guys, I got to tell you something. It's my first time being a coyote, and I'm lost.
Oh, no.
And so right away I said, oh my God, you know what? I promised my dad that if I don't make it this time to the U.S., and we were already in the U.S., right? But we needed to make it to the place where we were gonna get picked up. And so I said, no, dude, I already promised my dad that if we don't make it this time, I'm going back to Mexico. And I go, and I'm not going back. I said, I'm not going back. I'm not quitting. So he says, look, if you guys want to keep going on your own, you guys can keep going on your own. I'm going to turn around and I'm going back. And so I said, okay, you do what you got to do. And so I look at the guys that were with me, And I asked him, I said, what do you guys want to do? You guys want to go and continue with me, or you want to go and go back with the coyote? And they're like, no, we'll follow you. So I didn't know where I was going. I didn't even know what I was doing. You know, I was just like, I said, you know, well, there's only one way. I'm going to continue walking north towards the north side, and hopefully I'll find a road or something. I didn't know what was going to happen. So, you know, I just believed that God was going to make something happen for me, because it was my last chance, right? And so we kept on walking for like 45 minutes. And then after 45 minutes, we hear somebody behind us, hey, you know, wait for me. And it was a coyote. So he ran after us, and, you know, he finally, you know, like came to where we were. And he says, hey guys, you know what? I couldn't leave you alone. So he goes like, I don't know where we're going. You know, I just remember that they said, you know, if we continue going, we're going to find a road. And let's just go through the road, and hopefully we'll find the pickup trucks or the trucks that are going to pick us up. And he didn't even know what it was that was going to pick us up. You know, it just so you guys can kind of get an idea, right? So we just kept on walking. We run out of water. We run out of food. And you know, it really came to a point where like we were almost this close to giving up. And we finally found the road. And then after like 15 minutes of walking on the road, we saw an SUV, a suburban truck, and so let's just continue walking on the road. So we continued walking on the road. We were there for like another 30 minutes. And then the truck came back, and they're like, hey, you guys are the group of people that were lost. Get on the truck. Get on the SUV. And so we finally went in it, and that's how I made it to the US.
And, you know, I think that's an incredible story. And I think there's a big lesson there, right? That's a metaphor. When no one knows where life is going. And just believe in yourself, believe in the future, and just keep on going.
Yeah.
And it's going to work out. And is that the mindset that you've used the rest of your life? I mean, from there, I mean, that's a very humble beginning. From there, you're an amazing businessman, and you built quite an empire. So what is that magical mindset from that point to that spot you here?
What was that again?
So from that point where you jumped on that truck, right, and you were safe,
yeah,
to today where you built this real estate empire, what is that mindset that has guided you?
You know what I think is more than anything, not giving up. And I think that was my number one lesson, that if you don't give up in life, and you continue, you know, you're always going to have challenges, because challenges are part of making you and developing you into a better character person. You would never be able to get to where you want to go, or be the person that you need to be, if you're not equipped with the equipment and the tools and the character that you need in order for you to get there. And so a lot of it is, it has to be with the physical part of it. But aside from the physical part of it, I think more than anything has to be with the mental part of it. And so what that taught me was that if I can believe that there's always a possibility in everything, and I continue going and moving forward, it doesn't matter what comes my way, I'm always going to be able to find a way to get there, and life would prepare me to get to where I want to go, to get to the final destination that I want to go. And so that was my learning experience from that point. And I think it was part of what changed my life, because if I would not had gone through that experience, I wouldn't been able to see life the way that I see it now. And it's being able to see life in a way that everything is possible. Life is a possibility. And it is really up to me or up to us to be able to create and make whatever we want happen. As long as we don't stop and as long as we don't quit. And so that's when I created the mentality of quitting was not an option for me.
Yeah, and I think the most important part of the story is when you said you guys were so close to arriving, and that's when you were almost about to give up.
Yeah.
And I could think of that metaphor so many times in business. It happens all the time. Right? People give up just before they're about to, they spend years of hard work, and just before when everything's about to click in place, they give up.
Yeah, I think it's the way that I see it, and I could probably tell you a few different stories in my life, and the way that I see it is that whatever it is, I don't know if it's life, God, you're always being tested, and you would be tested to the last minute before you're able to break the abundance code. You're gonna be tested, and right at that moment is when you have exhausted every single energy that you had within your body. It's completely gone now, and it's where most people quit. But being able to have that ability to understand that when you don't quit and you're right there at that moment is the specific moment to be able to get the last energies out of yourself, to push, to make the last push, to take the last breath that you have within you and push 100% or 200% if you can. And once you do that, every single time it works the same exact way. You get to your destination. But it requires that extra push that a lot of people are not willing to give.
I think that's well said. I think anything that's worth building, anything that's worth doing, right? Just like in the gym, right? You got to do the last rep.
Yeah, I was actually just having a conversation a little earlier with one of my agents, and he was telling me, hey, he's the new agent, right? He's the new agent, and he's telling me, you know what, Eloy? He goes, I'm out of my savings that I had. I already ran out of my savings. He says my card is not working right now, and I just got a ticket. And I said, look, I go, this is it. I go, this is the last push that you got to give. And I told him, look, I remember when I started in real estate. When I started in real estate, my first commission that I made, I had a car accident. I crashed my car and I almost totaled my car. The first commission that I got went to fixing my car. And I thought, I was like, hey, I'm going to get my first commission, from here on, everything is going to be great. And I remember again, that day when I crashed and I used the money for fixing my car, that commission, I remember that I felt like quitting, but I didn't allow myself to quit. And because I didn't allow myself to quit, within the first 6 months of my career in real estate, I made $126,000 in 6 months. But it was not because I knew what I was doing. It was more than anything because I was not going to allow myself to quit. And so I was going to push and work. I was going to work harder than anybody else. there's a saying that I heard many times, and it says that there's a lot of people that are more talented than we are, and the only way to overcome talent is outworking people.
Yeah.
And so I said, look, when I came into real estate, I said, look, there's people that speak better English than me, that had been in the U.S. for longer than me, that were born in the U.S., that are better looking than me, that are smarter than me, that know about the economical system that I don't, that know how to make money, that come from families that taught them how to make money, that understand how money works. I go, I don't have any of that. So the only way that I can be better than them is by outworking them. And so I made the determination that I was going to work harder than anybody else.
That's very good advice. I remember when I was a kid, and that's the same philosophy. And they did the same thing. And it's like the whole day of door knocking and farming and so forth. And then my mom, in the evenings, it was routine every single day, 7 days a week, from like 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. She'd had those, back in the day, they had those big multiple listing books.
Yeah.
And she would be going through them one by one and calling all the expired listings. And this is the 70s, right? And in the 70s, right, you had the rotary phones.
That takes
right?
forever.
Yes. So and that was like, so my whole, like, all I can remember, is my dad working 7 days a week and my mom working 7 days a week. So that's all I remember. And it was always real estate. Right. And I was like, I don't know, 8, 9 years old or something. And so she used to make the calls and I used to sleep in her lap so I could still remember her voice as she's calling the expired listings. I remember the pitch. It's ingrained in me, like how she used to. And so here's a woman whose English was broken, just like like you were saying, right? In the 70s is a different country. It wasn't so cultural back then, right? And calling expired listings every evening and trying to get deals. And she was the number one listing agent in that market. This was the Lakewood Bellflower area. That was her farming area. And it was just look, had every disadvantage, but just worked harder. And that's the solution, right? And then if you have all the advantages, then you work harder, you're going to crush it.
Yeah.
And what's your daily schedule? I mean, what was, I should say, when you were an agent, what was your daily schedule? What was your routine every day?
Yeah. So when I was starting as a new agent, I used to work from 7 in the morning to 10 p.m. at night. 6 to 7 days out of the week. Yeah. And so the main thing was I used to wake up at 4:30 in the morning and go work out for at least 45 minutes to an hour. Come back to the house, get ready, go to the office, start planning my day, my routine, and then I would go and start role playing for like 30 minutes. I would do role playing, the scripts, what I was gonna say, role playing affirmations, also the overcoming objections. I was role playing the overcoming objections as well because I wanted to be ready if somebody was going to give me an overcoming objection. I wanted to know what to say, when to say it, how to say it. And so I practiced all that every single day. And then from there, I would go and sit down with my assistant and I would tell my assistant, hey, this is what you need to do. Focus on this because I'm going to focus on bringing in the appointments. So after that, I would go and start, making phone calls and follow up with my clients, schedule appointments. I would try to have at least 2 to 3 appointments daily from starting at 4 p.m. So my main objective was to work the phones, to follow the clients, they wanted to buy a house to ask for referrals. Now, here's another thing. Remember, I've been in business for 17 years. In my career, I've never got business from door knocking or cold calling. Never done that. So majority of my business always came from referrals. So I would always go and work and meet new people, get phone numbers, make them my friends, and then ask them to refer me their friends, whoever they wanted, whoever they knew, whoever they had that was looking to buy a house. That's who I was helping. And so, it was just pretty much working, not looking for excuses, not allowing myself to quit, whether the market was good or bad. I didn't have an understanding of the market. My first year, like I said, I made a good amount of money. My second year in the business, which was my first complete year in the business, was in 2008 when the market crashed. And so I remember seeing everybody getting out of the business, right? And my office where I was initially working, they went out of business. So I had to go out and look for a new office. And so I did not know that I was a top producer until I went and asked for a job at the new location where I was going to be working. And so they were like, okay, so why do you want to work here? I said, well, because my old broker just went out of business. I need a new office. And so I that year in 2008, I sold 42 homes.
Wow.
Ad market.
Wow. That's probably one of the worst years in this business.
Yeah, one single guy with one assistant. And and also one thing, remember I wasn't pretty savvy with contracts and none of that. So I had to hire an assistant to help me write up the contracts, to help me with the transaction coordinating and everything, because I was good at, and it wasn't really that I was good. I think what I was good at was being stubborn. I was very good at being stubborn. I said, no, you got to buy a house. It's a great time for you to buy a house. And I would call them hundreds of times until they finally say yes. And then they would come, get pre-qualified. And if they didn't qualify, I would give them a plan and say, you're going to be able to buy a house in 2-3 years or maybe in 6 months. Follow this plan and you would be able to get it done. And then after 6 months, 1 year, 2-3 years, people will come back. But I would be on the phone every single day. I would be on the phone following up with everybody. Hey, how you doing? Hey, did you pay that credit card that you were supposed to pay so your FICO goes up? Hey, by the way, did you add it? Did somebody added you to their credit card so your FICO score can be better? And so I would always be like, my whole day will go on making conversations with people to help them get to what they needed to where they needed to get. The main objective was, which would be getting a home. And so that's why when I see people nowadays and they say, I got nothing to do, I tell them, hey, you got a lot of things to do. Go find people that want to buy a house. And I tell you one thing, the beauty about what we do in real estate, I truly believe that we sell the number one item in America, which is what I think and believe that it is the American dream, because everybody wants to own a home. If you go out on the streets and you ask someone, do you think that at one point in your life you would get to own a home, or would you want to own a home? I think 9 out of 10, they're going to say yes. And that's what I used to do. I used to go out on the street. Whenever I didn't have any more numbers to call, I would go out to the Cerritos Mall. I would go to the Stonewood Mall. I would go to the Lakewood Mall. I would go to the gas stations. I would go to the supermarket, the Norgate Market, the Target, the Walmart. There'll be times that I'll be standing outside of Walmart and Target at 11 p.m. because I haven't made my 100 contacts. I needed to make 100 contacts a day. And if I didn't make my 100 contacts that day, I would go outside of Walmart and pass my business cards until I hit 100 contacts daily. So my goal was to hit 100 contacts a day and make 2 appointments daily. And if I didn't do it, I didn't get to go home.
That's discipline. And I see that's a good.
I don't think it's really discipline. I think it's more than anything mindset. Because see, discipline to me is like you gotta be doing this certain thing from this time to this time. I had no time. To me, it was like if I'm done by 9 p.m., I get to go home. If I'm not done by 9 or 10 or 11, I don't go home until I'm done. So it's really the mindset that got me to where I am today.
Yeah. So you make a good point about, making that 100 contacts a day and following up and making the calls, right? It's a good transition point where now I know you've been playing around with the Morgan tool, you've been using it, and it's making the calls for you. Now imagine if you had that.
Yeah. So
if you had that 10 years ago.
But see, here's the problem now, that this is what I tell people. Look, I didn't have social media. I didn't have people making calls for me. I needed to do all the labor. The labor needed to be done by myself, right?
Mhm.
Imagine if you really take advantage of all the tools that we have now, tools like Morgan. And that's one of the things that I tell everyone in my office. Utilize it. Yeah, they're gonna help you do the follow-up, right? But you also want to continue doing your follow-up. And Morgan does an excellent job on following up with the clients and passing on the clients to the team and everything. So definitely, I think and I think this is just the beginning. The way that you guys are, that Morgan is being developed, I think is going to become that assistant that you don't have to pay for, that used to do a lot of the work that before we used to pay for. So it is an amazing tool. I really love it.
Yeah, and it's really a force multiplier. So if you're making 100 calls, and then Morgan is also making whatever hundreds of calls behind the scenes for all your past clients, right? So you can really say, instead of your goal of 2 appointments a day, maybe you go to 4 or 5 appointments a day, right? And we all know in this business, the more appointments you have, the more the higher the probability they convert into a deal, and higher probability they go into escrow. So it's just, you got to keep touching them over and over and over again and get in front of as many people as possible. That's the name of the game. Right. And that's the goal of Morgan, is to get your name in front of as many of your clients as possible.
Yeah, I think it's a tool that is going to help you scale up to the next level if you utilize it correctly.
Correct. So with that said, Angel, can you show our audience how to use Morgan to do the prospecting for them?
Absolutely. So, my pleasure. One moment here.
Eloy is going to see his business explode this year. Is your goal still 100 contacts a day, Eloy?
It's a little different now because I don't do what I used to do before.
Yeah, that's right. Now you got you at the helm of a battleship.
Yeah. What was that?
I said, now you're at the helm of a battleship. You're the captain of a huge beast.
Yeah. Now it's more of training the agents on doing what I used to do, so they can get the results that I've been getting.
Exactly, keeping them motivated. Right. Yeah. Don't let them give up.
All right, so let's take a look. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So the first thing that you want to do with Morgan to utilize this lead prospecting feature, first thing you want to do is get registered. If you don't already have an account with Morgan, which what are you waiting for? And this is all free. Everything you use Morgan for is free. So you go to usemorgan.com, you'll consent to the terms and conditions there. And then all you have to do is say create account. And then Morgan's going to ask just a few questions to create your account, your email address, your phone number, and she'll have you create a password. So once you do each, she's going to verify it with a 4-digit code. So I put in my email, got a 4-digit code here. So you want to make sure Morgan has the right contact information for you. Then we'll enter mobile phone number and you will get accept, provide consent for Morgan to text you, of course, very important. And then you'll get text a 4-digit code to verify that she got your mobile number right. So you'll pop back into Morgan, enter that code. And then lastly, she'll just have you create a password. So just has to be 8 characters, 1 lowercase, 1 uppercase, a symbol, and a number. And after you enter that, she will have you enter it one more time, just to be careful, make sure that it's correct. And then just like that, you have your own free Morgan account, which is great because if you switch from, your cell phone to your desktop, all you have to do is say authenticate to Morgan, and she will get you logged right in. And any conversations that you've had with Morgan in the past will populate there for you. So you'll be able to see everything all at the same time, no matter what device you're on. And then let me go ahead and share my screen one more time. And I'll show
While
you.
you're doing that, Angel, one of the questions we get a lot is why do we have so many levels of security? Why do we get have to do a code for our email and then a code for the cell phone and all this stuff? And there's a good reason for that. And the reason is that this is a financial software. This is basically a financial banking software. It's got consumer data in it. It's got your PII, Social Security number, date of birth in there. Very soon it's going to have the ability to transfer money. So the security has to be airtight. So that's why we do this double check security, that you are who you are and that your email address and phone numbers, everything checks out before you can get into it.
Yep, exactly. And also when you use this lead prospecting feature, once you drop your leads into Morgan and she starts doing the email campaigns, the phone campaigns, you're going to get a weekly report emailed to you with all of the information, what was done with your leads. Morgan actually does an analysis for you. So if they're not ready to buy or sell now, when will they be ready? When would be the best time to follow up? So you want to make sure that goes to the right email address, right? So another reason to double check that. So also within Morgan, you can have multiple conversations going all at the same time. So that's what you're seeing here is I'm starting what's called a new errand. So Morgan is your virtual AI personal assistant. So you can send her on as many errands as you would like all at the same time, just by starting a new errand, which looks like a new conversation. So I'm starting this new one called leads, and I'm just going to tell her I have a file of leads for you to follow up on. And then she's going to ask me to send her the file. So I just click on that little paperclip icon. I browse for my file. So you can just export it from your CRM, wherever you have your leads, send it over to her. And then she'll ask, do you want me to make phone calls, email campaign, or both? In this case, I told her both. And now she is offering for me to use my own call scripts and email templates. So same thing. my phone script that she's going to contact my leads on my behalf and keep me updated through weekly reports. So simple as that, just, a few moments of your time to get your leads uploaded into Morgan. And she has human assistants that help with the phone calls. We call them Morganistas. So it will be humans making the phone calls. They're all bilingual, English and Spanish. And then their goal is to get those clients, if they're ready to buy, sell, get them connected to you. So they will try to connect you live. And if not, you'll get an email saying, hey, this person wants to hear from you right away. So you can reach out. And then, as I mentioned, you'll get those weekly reports as well.
Super. So how many of your agency, Eloy, have been utilizing this feature? You're on mute. Oh, we lost Eloy.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Because
yes, there you are. You're back.
There's a lot of noise here. Yeah, we're actually doing trainings for the past few weeks. We've been doing at least one or two trainings a week, and so we're trying to get everyone in the company to take advantage of the tool. I mean, I really want everyone to start utilizing it.
Okay. And for the people who have utilized it, what kind of results have they seen?
They're getting appointments now. There's one of my agent that told me right now that he got a seller that is interested. So that was a conversion from Morgan. So that's pretty good. That's a seller that wasn't there. So
right. That's met one of the goals. 50% of the daily goal, right? The goal is 2 appointments a day, and you met 1, so that's 50%. You're halfway there.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're gonna have to raise the goal for everybody. Instead of 2 appointments a day, is gonna raise it to 4 or 6 a day now.
Once we get to everybody doing 2, we want more.
Well, you can put as much as you want in Morgan. The AI has no limits.
Definitely.
Now, since you got a listing, Eloy, can you show? I know Eloy already knows how to do this, but Angel, can you show for the whole group how you can use Morgan to boost your listings?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So with Morgan, you can create really cool, just single page listing websites. So you can advertise your listings. They're really highly ranking SEO websites. And right on the page, you have all your information about the listing, but also a breakdown of all the most popular mortgage programs, conventional FHA, VA, you can do USDA if it's applicable for that listing. So you can actually be showing potential buyers what a mortgage could look like on that property. And then you have your information on it, of course, and you can use that website to create social media posts that look really nice, just in, again, a few moments of your time. And you can generate flyers right from those websites as well. So let me get this started here for you guys. So I'm going to be starting a new errand here, just like we saw before. So I'll call this one listing website. And then all I have to do is tell Morgan to create a listing website. And then she's going to be asking me some questions to be able to create the site. So here, what is my role? She's going to be asking for, here she asks if I'm working with a loan officer from SunWest. If not, no problem. But you can create co-branded materials that way. So she'll ask for, my name, my contact information, license number, all the information she needs to be able to put on that website, what company I'm with, address. Now here she's asking me for my headshot to put on the listing. So I just use that paperclip icon, attach my picture. capture. And now she's asking about the listing. So I provide her with the address and she's asking for photos. So I use that paper clip. I attach the listing photos. You can do up to 5 at a time. If you want to include more, just send multiple messages. And then she's going to ask which should be the lead image. So that's going to be the largest image on the page, the one that's most prominent. So I'll select that photo and send it over to her. And then I will have to affirm my consent for her using all of these photos for my site. And then within 1 hour, I'll get an email link to my website. So from the website, as I mentioned, you can generate flyers. So let me pull up an example website here. All right, so here's an example of a listing website. So you've got the address, purchase price, the photos that were provided, description. As I scroll down, now this particular realtor requested VA and conventional, but you can, again, you can have FHA, USDA, whatever it is you need on there. And that way you can show a potential buyer what their mortgage could look like. So you have that breakdown of the mortgages, you have your information, and then at the top, how you generate that listing, you just hit print. And that's going to generate the listing flyer for you. So you have a PDF right there that you can utilize. And then if you click on this share button, you can directly email the link, but all you have to do is click to share to your Facebook, to tweet out the link, or you can say get shareable link. It's going to copy it to your computer. Just open up your social media, start a new post and paste that link, and it will create a really nice social media post for you there. So again, it's just a few minutes of your time inputting the information that you want on the site, your information, the listing information and photos. And you have all of this material that you can use to boost your listing.
And let's not forget my favorite part of Morgan is it gets all the underwriting for you. And Nikki in the chat, Nikki, thank you for watching, Nikki. She asked if you only have 1 late payment within 6 months on your car, will you be denied on a home loan? And the answer is not necessarily. And actually a better answer is probably not. There's a lot more to it than just one late payment. So, you know, the AI, Morgan will look at the whole, your whole credit and income profile, and your assets and everything. It looks at you holistically. So one ding or one problem here or there is not the end all. And it's also not the cure-all, right? So you can, you know, so by cure-all meaning sometimes you have somebody could have great credit, but they don't have enough income. So just because you have great credit doesn't mean you'll qualify for the house you're looking for. Or you could have great income, but you just had a bankruptcy, you may not qualify. Okay, so when we underwrite, when Morgan looks at your circumstance, it looks at everything all together and considers it all and makes a decision. And because we look at all of your circumstance, Morgan has the ability to go all the way down to credit scores as low as 500. And Morgan also does loans for borrowers who have no credit. So a lot of people don't realize this, that you can actually get a mortgage and buy a house if you have absolutely no credit. And what a great way to build your credit is if your first trade line is a home, right? And that immediately opens up so many possibilities for you. So you should try it out. And there is a process that you'll follow. It's a little bit more paperwork on your side. It doesn't take longer. Just you're going to be asked more questions. And Morgan will control all that. And so if you have no credit, and if you're watching this and you have no credit, you can actually still buy a house today with the programs that are out there, and get a great, amazing rate. And you can also ask Morgan for rates, and it'll tell you, the rates that are being offered. Okay, so if you don't have credit, you can get a house. And Morgan is one of the very, I think, well, actually Morgan is the only AI that can do all of this. That's not number one. But SunWest is one of the very few lenders that can do mortgages for people who don't have credit, and very few lenders that can do it for people with lower credit scores in as low as 500. And I've seen a lot of very good borrowers who love their home, who will never default on their home, but due to various life circumstances like medical issues, other life events, the credit gets destroyed. But it doesn't mean they're not a good credit risk, right? And when I say the credit gets destroyed, I mean their credit score gets destroyed, right? Your credit is only as good as your word. So if you're a person of your word, your credit is good. And that's the whole point. What we figure out is, are you a person of your word? Do you intend to pay back that loan that you got for that house? So if you can stand behind your word, and there's ways that the algorithms figure this out. And it works, and the results are amazing. Hey, do you have that chart of our decline rates?
I will.
Yeah. So while Angel is looking it up, she's going to show the impact of all of this AI and all of this technology, and all of this high-speed loan processing and closing that happens with automated systems. And I know there's a lot of talk out there. I was just cruising through the Wall Street Journal today, and all this talk about different people saying, oh, AI is going to take over the world and destroy humanity and so forth. I think there's a lot of hype being created for certain zillionaires to drive up the value of their shares, and just trying to capture the public's imagination and get more press attention. But the reality is that AI is helping society and is adding to the economy. And we can see it here. We finally, with the help of AI, SunWest has solved the fair lending problem. And if you look at this chart, what you can see here is according to the Urban Institute, the national decline rate for African Americans is 27%. That means almost 1 in 3 African American, or 1 in 4 African American that tries to buy a home gets declined. Okay, using AI, we have reduced that to 13%. Okay, and that's equivalent to the nationwide average for white America. So we have truly solved the whole disparate impact, the unfair lending practices out there. We've solved it by having, literally by having a machine crank through all the paperwork. It does everything the same way, fairly, every single time. So true fair lending is here. The solution was through technology, and we've delivered it. So a lot of people out there that are listening and thought they could never own a home, or a lot of realtors that are listening right now, and maybe you've passed up on some potential buyers who had lower credit score. You didn't think they could afford it, or sorry, not afford it, but who you didn't think would qualify. They could afford it, but couldn't qualify. Well, this is the solution. There's a lot more deals you can close. And the other thing about this that makes it so easy for realtors is that when Morgan gives a decision, and it does it really fast, usually within a few hours. So Morgan gives you an underwriting decision within a few hours, and no later than 8 a.m. the next morning. Right. So if you just had dinner and then you took like you said, Eloy used to work till 9 o'clock at night. Right, Eloy used to take appointments till 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock, as late as it took, right?
Yeah, sometimes we would take appointments. I think, my latest appointment would be like around 8 p.m.
Yeah.
8
Right, so
p.m. and sometimes we'll be there until like 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So literally, if you took an appointment at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and you got a buyer who's interested, and he giving you, some of his basic information, his income, W-2s, whatever, and as every good realtor gets that basic stuff. You just drop it into Morgan, and then by the time you return from the gym in the morning, okay, you have an approval. And you haven't even shown the house to spend any more time with that buyer, but you've got an approval that morning. And when Morgan, and it's not like a pre-approval or a pre-qual that you get and everywhere else in the industry. This is a real backed approval, so it's not going to change. So it's fully underwritten, it's final, and because the AI is never wrong. So the AI goes through the documents, it figures it out, gives you a final approval by the morning, and any other documents it needs. So you got a full conditional approval in the morning, and you're good to go, and you can rely on it.
What budget houses to show the client, and they don't fall in love with something not knowing if they'll be approved for that loan.
Well, even better, and I think even more important is, and I'm sure you've seen this a lot, Eloy, is you have a pre-approval, you go into escrow, and then they do another underwrite, and then you get a whole new set of questions and conditions, and maybe it doesn't close. And also when you do a pre-approval, you write an offer you still have to write an offer, even when you have a pre-approval, with a loan contingency, right? But in our case, when you get a true approval, Morgan issues what we call true approval. When you get true approval, because it's final and Morgan's never wrong, and we always stand behind everything Morgan says, you can submit an offer with no loan contingency. So even that buyer with the 550 credit score, right? You take that home buyer with 550 credit score and 3.5 down, barely enough money, you get that offer submitted with the Morgan true approval, right? You making it like a cash offer. And it's as strong as cash offer. So it's as likely to get accepted.
Yeah, Morgan even does an early check for a property inspection waiver. So if they've got their eye on a specific property, or if you're like, I want to show them a handful of these properties, send Morgan the addresses, and before you've even made the offer, you know if an appraisal is even going to be needed on that file. So that makes the offer even stronger, because then you can close faster.
Okay. All right. Hey, I see Eloy had to go. We thank Eloy for his attendance today. And we were almost done in any case. So any last words, Angel?
Let's see. Well, if you are interested in anything we were talking about today within Morgan, anything that I demonstrated using in Morgan, you want to have some guidance while you get your feet wet in the system, go to usemorgan.com, hit let's chat, she'll ask your name, and then tell her workshop. And she'll get you registered for a hands-on live small group workshop. So you'll be live on a Zoom with a certified Morgan trainer. We keep these sessions really small so that you can get the one-on-one assistance. Make sure you get all your questions asked, and they'll run through some exercises, some scenarios with you, so you can really feel comfortable utilizing Morgan. So I highly recommend checking out a Morgan workshop. Also, if you're not already following us on social media, make sure you do that, because if you were at the top of the call, you heard I was here in Salt Lake at the Originator Connect Mortgage Expo. We visit a ton of these events around the country. So follow us on social media so you can know if we're going to be in your area, and we usually have some free tickets that we can give away. So that saves you a couple $100 too, if you want to come to one of the events. So make sure you check out our social media. Final countdown. We're down to a minute. Pavan, any last thoughts?
Yes, there are some questions that were posted on the live chat. I will address those really quickly. Armando Sanchez says, I'd like to have my own Terminator. That's funny. Morgan is not a Terminator. Morgan is what we call empathetic technology. She always loves you. She's aware of your emotions, and she's always trying to keep you in your happy zone. And if you, those of you who are on Morgan right now, or I recommend you do get on Morgan. Go to usemorgan.com, and if you want to test her out, just ask her if she loves you. See what she says. Will Crawley asked, "Is the software just for agents, or can LOs use it?" And the answer is, Morgan loves all, serves all. It's for agents, real estate agents, and loan officers. Everyone can use it. Feel free to ask it whatever questions, problems you have. It will answer those. Obviously, it is a financial AI, so if you ask it to write your college essay, it won't do that. But if you give it income documents and credit information, it will calculate income and analyze guidelines for you. But if you are a loan officer who is not working with one of our wholesale broker partners, so if you're a loan officer that is working with one of our wholesale broker partners, or if you're a loan officer that is working for SunWest, the advantage is that when that loan is submitted to SunWest, SunWest will honor everything Morgan said. So if Morgan had done a calculation a certain way, if it quoted a guideline a certain way, SunWest will stick to it, and it will exactly fund that way. So there's no surprises, no anxiety, no last minute hiccups. So it is absolutely the best tool for realtors and loan officers. And for realtors, you'll never get a busy signal when you call, when you use Morgan, not call Morgan. When you use Morgan, you'll never get a busy signal, and you'll never get, hey, I have to go get an exception for an underwriter or whatever, because Morgan's decisions, it makes it on the spot and it's final. Can Morgan be Green Up and Associates asked, can Morgan be used with properties that require repairs prior to closing, such as FHA 203K? The answer is absolutely, definitely, 100% yes. Morgan loves 203Ks, also the Fannie Mae renovation product as well. SunWest, which is the partner company with Morgan, has been doing 203Ks since the early 90s. In fact, we were one of the first, I think SunWest was probably the first national 203K lender back in the day. We did a lot of 203Ks in the 90s, and we still do a lot of them today. And all of that does, and what's important about that, that's 30 years ago. And so we have 30 years of 203K knowledge and training data that's been programmed into Morgan. That's why Morgan is always right, because we have those decades and decades of case studies and data and emails and all that training that has gone into Morgan. So, and Morgan has been in production for over 4 years, and it's never wrong. So it's tried and tested, and that's why I'm able to put my money behind it, meaning that when Morgan gives an answer, I can confidently say it's always right, so that if you send your loan to SunWest, SunWest will honor whatever Morgan said. And in the impossible event that Morgan is wrong, SunWest will fund that loan anyways. It will honor that whatever Morgan said, and will continue forward with that loan. And that means if that means I have to balance sheet it, I will balance sheet that loan. Josie Duran asked a question: how does income come into play with Morgan for someone with lower credit scores that wants to purchase a home? What is required with income? That's a really good question. So income requirements and credit requirements are two separate things, right? So it's what they call underwriting, the 3 C's of underwriting, credit, collateral, capacity. And each pillar has to stand on its own. So the guidelines, define what the ratios are what the maximum ratios are. And if you go below, I believe on FHA loans, if you go below 580 or 620, I forget. I'm not Morgan, so I don't remember the guidelines as well as she does. But if you go below a certain credit score, your ratios get a little tighter. Typically FHA you can get as high as 56, 57% DTI. And if you get lower credit scores, then your ratios go down to 43 or something. That's how the two interact. But generally your income has to be, documented and calculated correctly and stand on its own, and your credit has to stand on its own.
The moral of the story, go to usemorgan.com and tell her the whole scenario, everything you know, and see what she says.
Yes. And that's a good point. So when you go to usemorgan.com and you talk to her, if you ask her a very broad question, like there was a question that was asked earlier, which was the one Nikki asked, if you only have one late payment in 6 months on a car, will you be denied a home loan? That's a very vague question. And yeah, it'd be better if you go into Morgan and say, hey, I'm trying to purchase a house. Here's my situation, right? Because your situation, there's a lot more to you than just that one car late payment. There's more to life than just one missed payment. So if you tell Morgan the whole situation, Morgan will give you a better, more complete answer. And that's, in the AI world, and I'm sure some of you may have read and heard about this in the media. It's called prompting, right? So you have to, if you ever use ChatGPT, you have to get the prompts just right. So Morgan's much more flexible. You can talk to it any which way, but Morgan is not a mind reader. So the more information, more background you give it, right, more you explain what you're trying to do, and what your situation is, the more accurate and complete the answer will be. If you ask her something vague, you'll get something vague back. Okay, so be as complete and thorough. Prompting it means start off by saying, here's what's happening. My credit is this, my credit score is this, my debts or obligations are this, my income is this, so on, so on, so on. I'm trying to purchase, I'm not refinance, whatever it is. Give it as much information as you can, and then ask your questions. You'll get a much better and usable and useful response that way. Okay. Well, thank you, Josie, for attending. Josie says thank you. So thank Josie back.
Thank you, Josie. Well, thanks everyone so much for joining us. Hopefully you learned some great tips from Eloy joining us, as well as Pavan, the wealth of knowledge that you are. And we always appreciate you sharing your thoughts and experiences.
Yes, it was a fun session. Actually, this is the first time I heard Eloy's story. I knew of it a little bit, but it's the first time I heard the whole thing, which is a very, very inspirational and moving story. I loved it.
Yeah, very much so. And to see where he is today, that's very cool.
Okay. Nikki says she's listening and driving. Be careful. Focus on the road. Don't drive. Don't drive and YouTube at the same time.
But we appreciate your commitment.
Yeah. All right. Good evening.